Hi everyone, my name is Shobh. Today we are going to learn about Apex triggers. This is like a Zero to Heroes trigger series with real-time scenarios and interview questions. By end of this course, you will be able to understand what is triggers, when and where to use triggers. You will also understand the use case of triggers, and you will be able to choose before or after triggers for any given scenarios. We will also see some best practices for writing a trigger. You will also understand all these things with real-time scenarios. Before going ahead, I wanted to make things clear. Is it difficult to learn triggers? Of course not. The expectation is triggers are very difficult, but in reality, they are like just toys. You can really play with triggers. Once you understand the basic, you can write any complex trigger. Okay, so let's understand the definition of Apex triggers. Apex triggers in Salesforce is a piece of code that executes before or after a specific event occurs in system, such as record creation, updation, deletion, or undeletion. Whenever a record is created, updated, deleted, or undeleted, you can fire a particular logic writing a Apex trigger. What you can achieve using Apex trigger, you can send email using Apex triggers, you can create any other records, you can perform a call out, you can delete a record, you can update any record, either it's related or not related. You can fire an error when you want to throw an error, validation error, you can write Apex triggers to achieve that. Now the question arises when we already have the automation tools, right? What is the need of Apex triggers? There must be a scenario where you cannot perform such, you cannot fulfill the requirement using the automation tools because that's complex. Okay, so in that scenario, Apex triggers comes into the pictures. Okay, whenever you cannot fulfill the requirement, whenever the requirement is complex, and whenever you want to perform any complex validation, then at that time you use Apex triggers. Basically there are two types of triggers in Salesforce: before triggers and after triggers. Let's understand when you can call the trigger logic. You can see the events, right? The events on the screen. For these events, you can call your trigger logic. Before insert, after insert. Let's say if you want to perform a particular logic, then you can perform that logic before insert, after insert, before update, after update, before delete, after delete, and after undelete. Let's say you want to create a contact as soon as the account is created. You can perform that using after insert. Let's say you want to throw a validation that you cannot create an account without giving a number. You can perform that using before insert. These are some events you can use in trigger logic to perform execution. Let's understand how things works in the trigger. In Salesforce, we have order of execution, right? As soon as we create a record, and let's say we have written a trigger logic there, it will not directly get saved to the database. Let's say if I am throwing a validation on creating account, then it will not directly go to the database. The record will not directly create to the database. It will first check if there is any flow on before insert, then the Apex trigger that is before insert, it will execute. This is the flow you can see on the screen. This is how the things will execute. First, the before insert flow will execute, then Apex trigger that is for before insert, and then after insert, after trigger will execute, then workflow, process builder. These are automation tools available in Salesforce. Coming up to the next slide. Okay, now the question arises when to use before and when to use after trigger. Let's understand. If you want to pre-populate a field on same record, okay, and if you want to throw an error, a validation error, then at that time you will use before trigger. Okay, and let's say you want to perform any uh, updation on other object and on the related and not related object, then at that time you use after. So, or also if you want to send email, or if you want to perform integration or some sort of uh, operations, then at that time you use after tree. So let's understand with this real world example. So let's say here you can see this guy, right? So this is your friend, and let's say this is you. So this friend is going to his way to the office, or his organization, and he's having his bag, right? And let's say you have to deliver some files or your bag to him. So without making any extra efforts, what you can do, you can call your friend and you can ask him to take your bag, because he is on his way, right? And your uh, house is in between his organization on his way, right? So you can just provide your bag to him, and he can deliver your files or bag to the same organization without any extra efforts. So when you use before trigger, right, so you don't have to there is no requirement for DML, so no extra DML is required. So you can compare this organization as a database, and you can say this is a before trigger, and this is, you can say, the logic which you have written in the Apex trigger. And this as this friend, you can relate as this is the user creating a record. Okay, so coming to the next slide. Okay, so let's create a thumb rule for before or after events. So if we need to update, pre-populate any field on the same record, make sure if you are performing any operation on same record, or you're firing an error validating the record, then go with before event. It can be before insert, before update, before delete, anything. Okay. And in any other condition, simply jump to the after event.